Hey guys, it's Jalen and I'm here today with the start of another writing vlog. It is officially construction season where I live, which means that it's gonna be very hard to film any sit-down content for this channel basically until October, because it's just gonna be, there's gonna be very few times where it's quiet enough and where that aligns with me being able to realistically film. So because of that, I'm hopefully going to be just doing more vlog content over the summer, but I wanted to start a vlog anyways because today, well actually yesterday, I'm starting to draft my novel Saltbirds again. I started chronicling the process of writing this book for NaNoWriMo. It was a whole thing if you were there for that. I got the idea for this novel in 2021 and I really wanted to start it right away. Like I was just like, why not? Like I want to start it right away. I've done this before. It was a great experience. I would love to do that now. But then I kind of was just like, that would be not a good idea because I have so many things in progress and I wanted to kind of get a bunch of my current writing projects done or closer to done before I started another book, and that was definitely the right option. And I finally got to a point back in like September where I felt ready to actually start writing this book. I had been slowly chipping away on the opening couple chapters, which I really liked before that. But when I actually started writing the book, I was really struggling with it. Honestly, I couldn't get into it. I have multiple videos on this where I just talked about how it just wasn't working. So I decided to try and do NaNoWriMo and work on the book every single day. And if that didn't work, I'd be like, okay, I gave it its fair shot. It needs to be put aside, but potentially working on it consistently would just get through the block. And that is what ended up happening. And I ended up really falling in love with this book. And I think working through those problems, and I'm really pleased with what it's turning into. The book is, as I've planned it, structured in 6 parts, which I explained how I structure this book, structuring method that I use called 6 arc story structure. I have a video on it, so I'll leave a link to that if you want to learn more on that. I'm just at the start of part 4, with each part being 10 to 12k words. I really don't have that much left. You know, I probably have 35,000 words left of this book. I expect to write about 1 part a month, and I think that will be the end of the book. I really don't think it's going to take that long to get from here until the end. I haven't worked on the book since November. After NaNoWriMo, I just wanted a break, and then there was just a bunch of stuff that came up that made it so I couldn't start. I actually didn't want to leave it until this late. I had some applications to do in December, and then in January, something came up that I had to work on just as I was kind of wrapping up this other thing, and I was just going to be ready to go back to working on this book. I started having weird, mysterious health issues. Finally was able to get an appointment to see a doctor about that, which is great. Finally, I don't have other things that I have to work on, don't have, you know, applications or deadlines for anything. My mysterious health issue is, for now, under control. I started doing a little bit of work on the book yesterday, and I will say that I have been thinking about this book constantly. It's really alive in my mind. I've really realized what it is about this book that is special and that I love. There's a lot that I'm really proud of and really excited by. For a long time, my process has been that I write a bit and then I was stopping to edit as I write, but I actually don't think I'm going to do that. I've decided to just keep drafting. You know, I think editing as I write is a great practice for me, but I just don't feel like it's what I want or need for this project right now. And the reason is because, first of all, I feel like the reason I used to edit as I wrote so much is because the editing process really overwhelmed me, and I wanted to mitigate that by doing a lot of the editing while I was drafting, so that when I had to go edit the book once the first draft was done, it wasn't as overwhelming. However, I've become really comfortable with the editing process. It's gone from something that I think I was afraid of and overwhelmed by to something I really genuinely enjoy, and so I'm not as overwhelmed at the prospect, and I don't really want to delay getting to write the book again just to edit it. The reason that I would stop to revise my books is because I would realize what needed to be changed, and I was like, might as well just edit it now. But I feel like the way this book is unfolding, because it is a very, I mean, it's weird to call it subtle because the main character is the least subtle character. Like, they are so, the main character is a real piece of work, but the plotline itself is very subtle. I mean, it's weird to say subtle because, again, like, the plotline is actually so juicy because every single character is on their worst behavior. But it's not very plot driven, is I guess what I would say. And I feel like it's piecing together more like a short story would than a novel. You know, when I'm writing a short story, I feel like as I'm writing it, I'm just following the character, and the character is kind of revealing themselves to me, and follow them throughout their choices and actions. I find that as I finish a short story, it really clarifies the entire piece for me. Like, I'll finish a short story and immediately a bunch of edits I need to make become very clear, but I couldn't really tell I needed to do those edits until the moment the story is done. You know, it's like as soon as I finish a short story, I'm like, oh, well, that was redundant, this thing needs to be set up. Like, a bunch of things become very obvious. There's like a clarity that emerges in that moment, and I feel like this book is developing in my mind almost the way that a short story would, and so I feel like there's no point going to do edits edits right now. What has been so exciting about this book as I've been writing it is the characters. I'm really proud of a lot of the character work that I'm doing. I struggled at the beginning, but once I started to really observe these characters, connect with them, I feel like I'm doing some of the best character work that I've ever done. I think the main relationship between Rowan and Susanna is the most interesting, most complex relationship I've ever written, and I'm really excited about the things that are emerging about both characters the more that I write the relationship between them. It's interesting because I feel like they both feel like such full, compelling, developed characters. They're so easy to write because they feel so real. Like I could just start writing a scene and just like observe it. Like I don't even feel like I consciously have to put much thought into it because they both feel so real. But at the same time, even though they both feel so real, it's like I am constantly learning more about them, which is really exciting. The more they continually make decisions, just like prying them open and seeing what's deeper and deeper and deeper inside their minds, I'm still learning so much about the characters, and so I feel like I should just stop to do edits at the end when I have a more fully informed picture of the characters, which is weird because they feel so real and so fully complete, but at the same time I keep learning more about them, and I think that that is the most exciting part about writing this book. So I don't feel the need to stop to edit. I just kind of want to jump right back into it and keep observing these characters and keep learning more about them. I did a little bit yesterday of work on the story, but just a tiny bit. I think it was like my first day back, so it takes like a couple days, I think, to get back into it. But over the past couple months, like not a day has gone by that I haven't written down an idea or a full passage in the notes of my phone or something like that. So it's really there, it's really present, it's like something really tangible that I feel like is really easy to access at the moment. And so I'm really excited to immerse in that. At the pace that I'm writing, I'll probably be able to write about 1 part a month, which means I probably have about 3 months of work left for this book. It really just depends on whether I pause to work on other things. If something else comes up that I have to do. I want to get better at juggling drafting and short stories. I have several short stories that I want to write. I just finished a draft of a short story, which was exciting, but I have several short stories I want to write. So I'll have to see if maybe like in between each part, I'll pause to try and draft a short story. Don't really know how I'm going to manage that. I want to get better at doing both simultaneously. That's kind of where I'm at. Well, hello. I have not really kept up with this video. I feel like I filmed the intro clip to this a while ago. I just feel like I didn't really have anything that compelling to say. The chapter I'm currently writing, I've been writing very out of order, which is a bit unusual for me. Normally I write pretty linearly, but this chapter is pieced together quite out of order. I'd written the second half of this chapter back in NaNoWriMo because I originally thought that it was going to go in the previous chapter. So then I went back and wrote the beginning of it. I realized that I wanted to add a flashback to the chapter, so it's pieced together very out of order, but I think it's almost there. A few of the scenes just have bits that are a little rushed and feel like they're maybe missing something key there. I started writing this flashback that was initially supposed to explore a very specific thing for the character, the origins of a specific thing. As I wrote the flashback, I felt like it ended up actually exploring something quite different, and I like the thing that it ended up exploring. It built actually on a piece of backstory that had already been set up, but it didn't really explore in the way that I wanted the thing that I'd wanted to explore. Like, I'm happy with the scene and I think it explores something different, but it's just different than what I had initially intended. There's a bit of inconsistency throughout because at the beginning I kind of set up the scene to be about a certain thing and it ends up being about something else, and then I kind of tried to pull it back in the end, but I was like, this is just not what this scene is about. I would say the way that I'm currently envisioning this will all pan out. I kind of saw February, because I started writing this like pretty late in February, as just my time to get back into the book, and I didn't really have anything specific I wanted to accomplish with that. And then I would kind of like to see myself writing 1 part per month. So I would like to finish part 4 by the end of March, which I already have a decent head start on part 4, so that should be quite achievable. And then I would like to write part 5 in April and then part 6 in May and be done by the end of May is my current plan. Each part is usually around 10-12k words. I can usually write 10k words in a month, like no problem. It's just going to be a matter of, can I consistently work on this and not get distracted by anything else? I used to be very good at writing short stories and novels at the same time, and like I knew how to balance that really well. But I feel like in the past like little while I've kind of lost my ability. Like I feel like I'm either in novel mode or I'm in short story mode. And I have several short story ideas I want to write, and so I want to try and figure out a way to still work through some of those short story ideas because I have several of them and they're good ideas and I want to write them while also making progress on this draft. I don't really know exactly how that's going to play out. I feel like I used to be really good at that and I've kind of lost that ability. Okay, I haven't talked about this. Like I'll have to talk about this in a future video, like a writing update or a whole video on this. I have like a little new project that I've been working on, but it's like very exciting. It's fantasy. Since December I've kind of been working on this and it's been like really fun, but I don't know, I think I've been a little distracted with just like world building and doing fun world building with that the past few days, but that's fine. Again, February was just meant to be my slowly getting back into the project month, and starting at the start of March, I want to try and work on Saltbirds pretty consistently. I'm thinking that what I might do is at the first of the month, set the goal to write every single day. If I write every single day, it won't take the whole month to write one part, right? Like one part is around 10K words. That if I write every day, that's not going to take me 30 days. At the start of March, say I'm going to write every single day. And once I finish part 4, then take the rest of the month off and maybe use that time to work on a short story or do world building or just rest. And then at the start of the 1st of April, write every day until I finish part 5. And then once I'm done, take the rest of the month off and then do the same with May. I'm not really sure. I do have, it might get a little tricky just because at the end of April, I have a camping trip planned. I don't know. I normally don't use like a lot of work goals or anything to keep myself on track, but just based on a few factors, I do want to finish Saltbirds fairly soon because I definitely want to make sure that I have time to finish the draft and do some early but substantial developmental editing. Based on certain factors, I'm just thinking that there's a potential that if I don't do it now, I won't have the time. I don't know. Normally I don't really use goals. I think, honestly, dead serious about this, and I could make a whole video about this. Maybe I will. Reason that I think I have a lot of motivation to write is because I don't set goals and I don't have word counts and I don't literally do nothing to force myself to write. Because that way, for me, writing doesn't feel like a chore, it doesn't feel like work, it literally just feels like something fun. I think that a lot of the time, if you put so much work into thinking you have to motivate yourself to write or make yourself write or force yourself to write by whatever, creating whatever elaborate system that forces you to do it, it just frames it in your mind as work and something that you need to force yourself to do. But especially over the past few years, I've really framed writing as something fun. On not having on a daily basis or even a weekly basis any way that I force myself to write, I think that really maintains the fun of writing, the enthusiasm of writing, the joy of writing, the excitement of writing, and it makes me want to write more. And that's why I write most days. And if I'm not writing most days, it's probably because I'm needing a rest and avoid burnout. So for me, I normally approach it very intuitively, and that keeps it very fun. Like, writing in my brain is framed as a fun thing. That's because I never force myself to do it. Like, it's just something that I want to do, genuinely want to do. Right now, the reason why I'm kind of setting these goals for myself isn't because I don't have motivation to write, but it's actually because I have so much. I think I'm in a phase right now where I have a lot of energy to create. I've been feeling very creative lately. Like, there are so many things that I want to work on that I honestly don't even have the hours in the day. I'm feeling very like abundantly creative right now, to the point that it's almost hard to keep myself focused on one thing because there's so much I want to do. I have so many short stories I want to write. I have like books I want to edit. I have a fantasy book that I want to plan. I have this book that I want to draft. There's like so much going on that I almost need to set a bit of a limit to keep myself on track. But also I feel like I want to make use of this abundance of energy. And so I think that it's actually a good time for me to set goals because I'm feeling so excited to create. I'm setting myself these higher goals and using these methods to make myself more productive because I'm in a period where I have so much energy rather than the opposite. So it's not like, oh, I'm feeling like I don't want to write, I have to pick myself up and do it. It's more like I have so much energy to write. If there's ever going to be a time to set these more higher productivity goals and actually like write with a more productivity focused mindset, this is the time, because I feel like I have the energy. That's kind of where I'm at regarding a bunch of things. I've just been chipping away at Saltbirds a little slowly throughout the past like week or however long, I honestly don't know, however long it's been. And then starting at the beginning of March, I think I'm gonna try and probably kick it into slightly higher gear. So I'm just walking home right now. It's like 5 p.m. I just went out to run some errands and a little bit of retail therapy. Earlier in the year, I decided I wanted to get my TBR down to 0 books. It was only like 12 or something. I know some people have like hundreds of unread books. That stresses me out. I like to keep it lower than 15, ideally lower than 10. I feel like I enjoy what I read the most when I'm reaching for what I'm most excited to read in that moment. And I just feel like if my TBR gets too long, what happens is a bunch of books start to just like continually sink to the bottom and I just don't feel that excited to read them. Yesterday, I finished the last book, other than there's just one that I'm gonna read from Buddy Read, so I didn't count that one. So I went out to a bookstore that I had a gift card for and did a little book buy. What did I get? Brutes by Diz Tate. It seems exactly up my alley. Big Swiss by Jen Began, one of my most anticipated reads of the year. Sleeping Car Porter by Suzette Mayer, which I've been wanting to pick up for a while. I also picked up The Swimmers by Juliet Suko, which is another one that I'd been meaning to pick up for a while. And the last one I picked up was Hijab Butch Blues, which is a memoir. I don't read a ton of memoirs, but I'd like to start reading a few more. Very excited about all of them. Very excited to be able to start my TBR fresh and try and keep it like fairly small and contained for a little bit so I can just go pick up the books that I like really want to read right in that moment. I know I had talked about how I wanted to, my whole plan to do like a March, April, May, write every day. I don't know how that's gonna work out now because my May is booking up. It's looking like I might have some more traveling than I even thought in May, which is exciting. It also depends on whether or not these things pan out or not. The sky is so stormy. Anyways, that's all for now. I'm gonna go home and make tacos. Just came outside for a minute to look at the nice sunset. It's finally the time of year where like it's so cold. I mean, it actually snowed today. It's finally the time of year where it's light until like 6, which is so nice. My May and June are booking up. An opportunity to do some traveling came up, and I had a camping trip. I'm going on a camping trip with my family near the end of April and the beginning of May, and now it looks like I might be traveling through like, maybe for like a month through a lot of May and even June. But it's also kind of making me want to just like power through this book and like get it done. I don't have that much left, and I kind of feel like maybe in March I will do like a write every day challenge, just like I did for NaNoWriMo. I think since I have a lot more momentum with the book, I could potentially write a huge amount. Like I could potentially write, you know, over 20,000 words, maybe even more than that, and see if I can get it done before I leave for my camping trip, which is at the end of April, which is a little more intensive than I was planning, but I kind of feel like it's the right option. So that's kind of just feeling like the right thing to do, which surprises me because it's, you know, a bit more intensive, and I thought that I would really just like take my time, but I feel like I have the momentum and I have the energy, and I feel like it would be kind of weird to write most of the book and then go travel for a while and then come back and have just like the tiniest bit left. I'd rather just finish it and then, you know, probably not write while I'm traveling and then come back and revise it, you know? That seems like that just makes sense, and I feel like I have the energy, and obviously I'll, you know, roll with the punches. I'm not gonna burn myself out. That's really important, but I think that that might be a good option. I know I've really enjoyed doing NaNoWriMo and doing a Write Everyday challenge. It's been very helpful and very positive for me the past 2 years. So I think that starting tomorrow, because tomorrow is March 1st, that's what I'm gonna do. As for how the actual writing's been going for me, I will say the scene I've been working on is pretty mid. It's just one of those scenes that is not really clicking, and you know, in the past I probably would have stressed about that, but I feel very comfortable with my ability to edit the book. I'm genuinely looking forward to when I get to edit this book. And so it's really not bothering me. Like, I think the scene, I know what the scene needs to accomplish, but I feel like I'm just unable to figure out how to get it to do that. And I feel like the scene is just becoming very drawn out because you can't really figure out how to get the scene to do what you want. You end up writing very long scenes because you can't get the scene to like accomplish its purpose. So the scene is just like drawing out and going on and on and on. And there's a very loud helicopter overhead. First draft scene. And there are gonna be scenes like that that don't really work initially. And so it's really not bothering me. I think this is a bit of a tricky chapter. The things that I know I need to accomplish with this chapter are quite hard. They deal with aspects of the book that are, I would say, almost like existential. You know, I just want to get it on paper and I can refine it in future drafts. It's not really a worry to me. Maybe in past books I would have stressed more and been like, oh, I'm so stuck, I can't get my book to work. But I've really just made peace with the fact that sometimes you write a bad scene, and like that's called writing a first draft. Like, it happens and it's fine. Like, you come back to it later, it doesn't matter. And what's important for now is that I just like write through it and move on rather than letting it turn into a block. It would be easy to get stuck on a scene and be like, well, I can't figure out how to make the scene work, so I'm just gonna not write or stare at the page for whatever and let it turn into this huge thing. And I think for me, the more helpful strategy is to go, okay, this scene's not working. I'm just gonna write it. It'll turn out how it turns out and I'll fix it later. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is just to get through it, even if it's pretty bad. And yeah, it's pretty bad, but like, oh well, what editing's for. So I don't really mind, and I know that this chapter is a bit tricky, and the chapter after this, What I Have Planned, I'm really excited about. So I kind of just want to get through that, and that will kind of be my my goal for today.